Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time we're going to be exploring a book called The Power of Letting Go by John Purkiss. A lot of our listeners have been asking about how to release negative thought patterns
Well,
and, really kind of dealing with past pain. And I think this book has some interesting things to say about that.
yeah, it seems like letting go is a theme that kind of keeps coming up in our modern world.
It really does.
And this book is fascinating because it blends this ancient wisdom with very practical
Right.
advice.
Yeah, and it's written in a way that I think is really accessible even for people who might be a little bit skeptical about, some of
Yeah,
these concepts.
absolutely. One of the things that I really appreciate about this book is that it frames letting go not as giving up, but as a way to kind of connect with a deeper level of consciousness.
Hmm.
It's not about resigning yourself to a life of, quiet desperation or whatever, but it's really about understanding that by surrendering to something larger than ourselves, we can actually tap into a more intuitive and joyful existence.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know the book starts by describing the human mind as a monkey mind, which I think is such a great analogy.
It really is.
Just constantly jumping from one thought to the next. And I think we can all relate to that.
Absolute.
It's exhausting.
It is.
So what's Purkis's take on dealing with this mental chaos?
Well, he really advocates for being present as the antidote to this kind of monkey mind.
Okay.
He introduces a breath-focused meditation technique that he encourages people to try. And it's really simple. It's, you just sit comfortably, you focus on your breath, and when your attention inevitably wanders, you gently bring it back to the breath.
Hmm.
And it's not about silencing your thoughts entirely.
Right.
It's more about developing this awareness of them,
Hmm.
noticing when they arise, noticing when they kind of pull you away, and then gently bringing your attention back to the present moment.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that because it's not about beating yourself up for having thoughts because
Yeah.
that's just part of being human.
Ex-
But it's about training your mind in a way. It's almost like training a puppy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like you can't expect her to sit still all the time,
Right.
but you can teach them to
Mhm.
to come back when they stray.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's about developing that mindful relationship with your thoughts rather than just letting them run wild.
Absolutely.
But the book doesn't stop at just managing thoughts. It also goes a little deeper,
Yeah.
and it explores this whole impact of past pain, which I find so fascinating.
Well, and he suggests, that it's often this unexamined pain from our past that's actually fueling these negative thought loops that we get caught in.
Okay.
It's like this unresolved script that's running in the background of our minds.
Interesting. So can you give me an example of how this plays out in real life?
Sure. There's this really powerful story in the book about a woman named Hallie who had this debilitating fear of flying. And through what Purkis calls the completion technique, she was able to revisit a childhood trauma that she had that had happened on a rooftop, I believe. And through this process of revisiting the trauma, she was able to really allow herself to fully experience and release the suppressed emotions that were connected to that experience.
Why?
And the result was pretty astonishing. After just one flight using this technique, her fear of flying completely vanished.
So she had years of this fear, and just by going back and addressing that root cause, it was just gone.
That's what he says.
Makes you wonder what other fears or limitations we could overcome if we were to really kind of go back and address those root causes.
Yeah, I think that's the power of this completion technique. It allows us to free ourselves from this grip of past pain and then move forward with more freedom and ease in our lives.
And it's interesting because this kind of leads us to another concept in the book, which is the inner image.
Yes.
And I think this is really fascinating as well.
Yeah. Well, he emphasizes the difference between our outer image, which is the face that we present to the world,
Right.
and then this inner image, which is often shaped by past hurts and these limiting beliefs that we've accumulated over time.
Right. So somebody might appear confident and successful on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
but internally they might feel insecure and unworthy.
Exactly. And he actually uses himself as an example. He talks about how outwardly he projected this image of being, clever and friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But internally, he felt very unacceptable. And this stemmed from childhood teasing that he had experienced.
Wow.
And so he argues that this inner image, if we don't examine it, it can really sabotage our relationships and our careers and our well-being in general.
So it's almost like we're walking around with this mask on
It is.
that's hiding our true selves from the world.
Yeah.
And I think it makes you think, is there a gap between how we present ourselves and how we truly feel inside?
Right. And I think that's a question worth pondering.
Yeah.
And thankfully, the book does provide specific exercises to help us uncover our own inner image and then to start healing the underlying pain that's connected to that.
Well, that's good to know
Mhm.
because it sounds a little bit daunting to think about kind of facing those inner demons.
Right.
But I appreciate that he gives us some tools to work with.
He does.
Now, the book also introduces this concept of surrender, which I think might sound a little bit intimidating at first.
Yeah.
Does this mean we just give up on our goals and ambitions?
Not at all.
Okay.
Surrender in this context is really about letting go of our ego's need for control.
Okay.
It's about trusting a greater intelligence or a universal flow that is always guiding us towards our highest good.
So it's not about becoming passive,
Right.
but about shifting from a place of force and struggle to a place of allowing and acceptance.
Exactly. And he shares a really powerful story about his own struggles with his career. He talks about hitting rock bottom, feeling lost and defeated. But through the process of surrendering, he was able to let go of his rigid plans and expectations.
Mm.
And this opened him up to these unexpected opportunities that ultimately led him to his dream job.
So it's like letting go of how we think things should be
Right.
and allowing for something even better to come in.
Yeah.
But does this mean we shouldn't set goals or make plans at all?
Well, I think that's a common misconception about surrender. And he does clarify that, setting goals is fine. But it's the rigid attachment to how those goals will manifest that really creates resistance and suffering.
Hmm.
So letting go allows us to be open to different paths and possibilities, trusting that the universe will support us in ways that we may not be able to foresee.
So it's about having a clear intention,
Right.
but remaining flexible and adaptable along the way.
Exactly. And it's about cultivating that deep trust. That even when things don't go according to plan, there's a greater wisdom at play that is always guiding us towards our highest good.
That's so reassuring.
Yeah.
Especially, when we find ourselves facing, setbacks or challenges, it can be really easy to just want to give up.
True.
But to know that there's this bigger picture at play is really, really comforting.
Absolutely. And I think surrender allows us to kind of navigate those difficult times with more grace and resilience, knowing that even in the midst of that uncertainty, we're being supported and guided.
Yeah. I love that. This all sounds fantastic in theory,
Uh-huh.
but I'm sure you have lots of real-world examples of how this actually plays out in people's lives.
Oh, absolutely. The book is filled with compelling stories of people who have transformed their lives by embracing this power of letting go. And these aren't just anecdotal accounts. Purkiss backs up these stories with scientific research and spiritual wisdom from various traditions.
That's what I love about this book.
Mm.
It's really grounded in both practical experience and deeper philosophical insights. It's not just about feeling good, it's about understanding, the nature of reality and how our thoughts and beliefs shape our experience.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Okay, good.
It's about recognizing that we are not just passive recipients of life, but active creators of our own reality.
Mm.
And through the power of letting go, we can tap into this source of infinite potential and create a life that's truly aligned with our deepest desires and values.
Oh, I can't wait to dive deeper into those specific techniques and strategies
Yeah.
for letting go. This is already so insightful and inspiring.
Me too. And there's so much more to explore. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll uncover those practical tools and exercises that you can start using right away to experience the transformative power of letting go in your own life.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
Yeah.
We left off talking about this idea of surrender and how it can really kind of open us up to new possibilities in our lives. Yeah. And I'm really ready to get into some more practical stuff,
Okay.
What are some of the techniques that people can use to actually start letting go in their own lives?
Sure. What the exercises that I found really helpful in the book is this idea of seeing things as they are.
Okay.
Without all the mental baggage that we usually carry around with us.
Mm.
Purkiss shares this anecdote about admiring a Ferrari.
Okay.
And he realized, he wasn't really seeing the car for what it was. He was caught in this whirlwind of thoughts about, his own financial situation and feelings of, inadequacy and all this stuff.
Yeah, that's so relatable, right? I mean, I think we rarely experience things for what they are.
Yeah.
It's like our minds are constantly filtering reality through our own personal lens of beliefs and experiences.
Right. And this applies not only to material things, but also to people and situations. We often project our own preconceived notions and judgments onto others,
Yeah.
and that prevents us from really seeing them clearly and connecting with them authentically.
Right. So instead of labeling somebody as difficult or annoying, we could just kind of observe their behavior and interactions
Exactly.
without attaching a story or a judgment to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And this allows us to kind of create space for a more, objective and compassionate understanding of
Yeah.
ourselves and those around us. It's
Yeah.
about kind of dropping the story
Yeah.
and just kind of seeing things with fresh eyes.
I like that. And this really ties in with the book's emphasis on letting go of judgments altogether.
It does.
Judgment is really about imposing our own opinions onto reality rather than just kind of accepting what is.
Exactly. And Purkiss really challenges us to embrace uncertainty, and to kind of loosen our grip on this need to be right all the time.
Oh, the need to be right. Yeah.
Yeah, and he even talks about this fascinating exercise that he does where he pairs people up with opposing viewpoints on controversial topics.
Oh, I remember this exercise.
Yep.
Yeah, he has everyone kind of passionately argue their viewpoints, and then he has them switch sides and really try to listen to the other perspective.
It's a powerful way to illustrate how challenging it is to listen without judgment.
Yeah, yeah, because our minds are constantly, evaluating and analyzing and formulating counter arguments. But if we can just kind of let go of that need to defend our own opinions,
Yeah.
we open ourselves up to new information and broader perspectives.
Exactly.
And a deeper understanding of those who hold different views,
Right.
which can lead not only to personal growth, but also to more harmonious relationships.
Absolutely.
I mean, who enjoys arguing with somebody who's convinced that they're always right?
No one. And this brings us back to this idea of letting go of control,
Yeah.
which is really central to Purkiss's philosophy. He challenges us to kind of question our attachment to these rigid plans, especially when it comes to, how we envision our desires manifesting.
Right.
He talks about how, so many successful businesses like Post-it notes and Instagram, they evolved in these completely unexpected ways.
Right. So it wasn't like they set out with this very specific, plan of how they were going to achieve this.
Right. He suggests that we often limit ourselves by getting fixated on a specific outcome
Right.
rather than kind of trusting the process and being open to possibilities that we may not have even considered.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that saying, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Yeah, well put. And this kind of circles back to that concept of surrender that we were talking about earlier. It's about letting go of that illusion that we can control every aspect of our lives.
Right.
And instead, aligning ourselves with this greater intelligence and trusting that things will unfold in a way that serves our highest good.
It's like partnering with the universe rather than constantly trying to wrestle it into submission.
Exactly. And when we surrender to that flow, we often experience things unfolding more effortlessly and synchronistically.
Oh, speaking of synchronicity, I'd love to hear more about the book's perspective on coincidence.
Sure. Well, he makes it clear that he doesn't believe in accidents.
Okay.
He suggests that what we perceive as coincidences are often these meaningful synchronicities that point to a deeper interconnectedness.
Okay.
But we often miss these connections because we're so focused on our limited ego-driven perspective. We're not really paying attention to the bigger picture.
So the more we let go of, those limiting beliefs and pain patterns that are keeping us stuck, the more we can kind of tune into those synchronicities and start to live more intuitively.
Yeah, it's like we're tuning into this hidden frequency that was always there, but we couldn't perceive it before because we were so caught up in our own heads.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
It really resonates with me. This all makes so much sense. But the book also delves into some pretty deep emotional work.
Right.
Particularly this concept of incompletions.
Yeah.
And the role they play in kind of blocking our desires.
Right.
Can you explain what exactly incompletions are?
Sure. As Purkiss defines them, they're essentially these unresolved pain patterns from our past.
Okay.
Memories, traumas, limiting beliefs, these things that continue to impact our thoughts, feelings, and actions in the present.
Okay.
They create these energetic blocks that prevent us from fully experiencing joy, love, abundance, whatever it is that we truly desire.
So it's not just about suppressing those negative emotions.
No.
It's about actively addressing and clearing them out.
Exactly. And this is where the completion process comes in.
Okay.
This powerful technique that he describes that involves revisiting, the original experience
Yeah.
that created the pain pattern and allowing yourself to fully feel and process
Okay.
those suppressed emotions.
So it sounds like a pretty deep emotional cleansing.
You could say that, and the book provides really detailed instructions on how to do this process safely and effectively.
Okay.
He emphasizes, it's not about dwelling in the past or blaming others. It's about releasing these old patterns.
Okay.
So they no longer have power over you.
Hmm. I can imagine this having a ripple effect on all areas of our lives.
It does.
The unresolved pain patterns can manifest in so many ways,
Oh.
unhealthy relationships, career stagnation, even physical ailments.
Absolutely. The book is full of examples of people who have transformed their lives by using this completion process to address these emotional blocks.
Mm.
And what's remarkable is that the effects often extend beyond the individual.
Oh, interesting. So you mean like when we heal ourselves,
Yeah.
it can also have a positive impact on our relationships.
Exactly. He tells the story about a woman who used the completion process to resolve this conflict that she was having with a colleague.
Right.
And as she released her own resentment and anger, their relationship dramatically improved.
Wow.
It's like by clearing our own inner clutter, we create more space for harmony and connection in our outer world.
That's really inspiring. It's a reminder that we're all interconnected.
We are.
And that personal healing can have this ripple effect
Yeah.
on those around us. But I have a question. If we're constantly letting go of thoughts, emotions, even our sense of control, what's left?
Right.
Who are we without all of those things?
That's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
And Purkiss suggests, that beneath all the mental chatter
Yeah.
and emotional baggage,
Mm-hmm.
there's this pure consciousness, this sense of being
Okay.
that's always present. But it's often obscured by our busy minds.
So it's not about emptying ourselves out completely, but about connecting with that deeper essence.
Exactly.
That's always there, regardless of our thoughts and feelings.
Right. And he offers these various practices.
Okay.
Meditation, surrender, things that help us to kind of access that state of pure awareness.
Okay, so we've talked about, being present, letting go of thoughts and pain, surrendering to a higher intelligence, even clearing out emotional blocks from the past. But what about those natural desires
Right.
that we all have?
Yeah.
How do we navigate those without falling back into those old patterns of control and attachment?
Well, this is where the book's insights on manifestation come in.
Okay.
And again, it's not about some magical formula or secret.
Right.
It's about aligning our inner world, our beliefs, emotions, and energy with our outer desires. Remember, we manifest our beliefs,
Right.
not just our wishes.
So if we want to manifest a loving relationship, for example, but deep down we believe that we're unlovable, those beliefs are going to create resistance
Exactly.
and block the manifestation of our desire.
Yeah, he emphasizes the importance of identifying and clearing out those incompletions,
Yeah.
those limiting beliefs and unresolved pain patterns that contradict our desires. He calls it creating a fertile inner landscape where our desires can actually take root and flourish.
Oh, I love that. It's like we're creating a garden within ourselves.
Exactly.
And we need to kind of weed out the negative beliefs
Yeah.
and cultivate a space where our dreams can blossom.
That's a beautiful analogy.
Thank you.
And one of the most powerful tools for cultivating that fertile ground is gratitude.
Gratitude. We keep coming back to this essential practice.
Right.
But how does gratitude actually help us manifest our desires? So we were talking about gratitude and how it can actually help us manifest our desires.
Yeah, well, the book, it really encourages us to cultivate a deep sense of gratitude for what we already have in our lives. And the idea is that this shift in focus away from what we lack and towards what we appreciate actually opens us up to receiving even more abundance.
So it's not just about appreciating the good things in our lives, but it's about actually using gratitude as a tool to attract more of what we want.
Precisely. It's like sending a message to the universe that says, I'm open and receptive to receiving more blessings.
Mhm.
And the universe in turn responds by showering us with even more to be grateful for.
It's a beautiful cycle.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to clarify that practicing gratitude doesn't mean, ignoring our problems
Right.
or pretending that everything's is perfect.
Absolutely. Toxic positivity can be just as harmful as negativity.
Mhm.
Authentic gratitude acknowledges the challenges that we face
Yeah.
while still choosing to focus on what we appreciate.
Mhm.
And that shift in perspective, can make a world of difference.
It's about finding those glimmers of light, even in the midst of darkness.
Exactly. And as we cultivate this practice of gratitude, it can literally transform our experience of life. It
Yeah.
can shift us from a state of scarcity and lack
Mm.
to a state of abundance and joy.
Speaking of transformation, I want to touch upon one of the most profound concepts in the book, which is this this idea that we're not just our bodies and minds, but pure consciousness experiencing itself.
Yeah, this is where Purkis really delves into the realm of spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
And he suggests that by letting go of those layers of identification, our thoughts, our emotions, even our physical sensations,
Mm.
we can actually tap into a deeper sense of being
Yeah.
that transcends form and limitation.
It's a mind-bending concept,
It is.
but also incredibly liberating.
Yeah.
It's like realizing that we are so much more than the stories that we tell ourselves and the roles that we play in the world.
Exactly. And this essence of pure consciousness is not something that we need to create or achieve.
Mm.
It's already within us. We
Mhm.
simply need to learn how to access it.
So how do we actually do that? How do we peel back those layers and experience this pure consciousness?
Well, he emphasizes the practice of surrender as
Mm.
a pathway to this awakening. And again, this doesn't mean giving up on life or becoming passive. It's about consciously letting go of our ego's need to control every aspect of our experience.
I'm seeing how all these concepts that we've discussed, letting go of thoughts, pain, judgments, even our rigid plans,
Mhm.
it's all kind of leading us towards this deeper experience of surrender.
You're exactly right. It's as if each step of the process clears space
Mhm.
for us to fully embrace that state of pure consciousness.
It sounds amazing,
Hmm.
but honestly, it's a little intimidating
Sure.
to think about letting go of control completely.
Right.
What if things fall apart? What if
Yeah.
I make the wrong choices?
Those fears are natural. But Purkis assures us that true surrender isn't about, you know, recklessness
Right.
or irresponsibility. It's about aligning ourselves with a greater intelligence, a universal flow that's always guiding us towards what's best for us, even if we can't see it in the moment.
So it's about trusting that there's a bigger picture, a higher purpose,
Oh yeah.
even when things feel uncertain or chaotic.
Exactly. And
Right.
when we surrender to this flow, we often find that things unfold
Mhm.
with more grace and ease, as if we're being guided by an invisible hand.
But how do we know if we're truly surrendering or if we're just kind of zoning out or giving up?
That's a great question. And Purkis offers some helpful insights.
Mm.
He says that true surrender is often accompanied by a sense of peace, clarity, and even joy, even amidst challenges.
Mm.
It's a feeling of being in alignment with something much greater than ourselves.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to feel a certain way, but about cultivating this inner state
Right.
of openness and receptivity and allowing life to unfold as it's meant to.
Beautifully said. And surrender isn't a one-time event.
Mm.
It's an ongoing practice. We may find ourselves but the key is to gently and compassionately guide ourselves back to that state of surrender.
Mm. So to summarize, we're letting go of thoughts, pain, judgments, and rigid plans.
Mm.
We're surrendering to a higher intelligence.
Uh-huh.
But what happens when we fully embrace this state of pure consciousness? What's the end goal?
That's the beauty of it. The ultimate destination is not a fixed point, but an ongoing exploration of our infinite potential. Hmm.
Purkiss doesn't try to define or limit this state of being.
Right.
Instead, he suggests that as we deepen our experience of pure consciousness, we tap into this wellspring of creativity and compassion and joy that goes beyond our everyday ego-driven
So
experience.
it's not about achieving a specific outcome,
Right.
but about embracing the journey itself
Exactly.
and discovering those infinite possibilities that unfold along the way.
And he leaves us with this powerful question.
Hmm.
If everything is auspicious, as he believes, how might our lives change if we truly embraced
Hmm.
the power of letting go?
That is a profound question to reflect on. It encourages us to consider what might be possible
Yeah.
if we were to fully embrace the principles that we've discussed in this deep dive.
As we conclude our exploration of the power of letting go,
Yeah.
I think it would be helpful to kind of distill the
Yeah.
key takeaways. Go
Oh,
for.
I love that.
Number one, the human mind is like this monkey mind, constantly flitting from thought to thought. Number two, being present, through practices like breath-focused meditation can really help to tame that monkey mind. Number three, unexamined pain from the past. It really fuels those negative thought loops
Right.
and prevents us from living fully. Number four, the completion technique,
Mm.
which involves reliving those past painful experiences can actually help to release the pain
Mm-hmm.
and free us from its grip. Number five, we often have this inner image of ourselves that's shaped by past hurts
Mm.
that differs from the image that we project to the world. Number six, surrender is not giving up. It's really about letting go of ego and control,
Mm-hmm.
allowing us to tap into a greater intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Number seven, we manifest our beliefs,
Hmm.
not just our desires.
So releasing limiting beliefs is crucial for creating what we want in life. Number 8, gratitude is a powerful practice that shifts our focus away from lack and helps us to manifest our desires. Number 9, the shadow is that part of ourselves that we deny or project onto others.
Mm.
And integrating our shadow, it really leads to wholeness. And finally, number 10, there are no coincidences, only connections.
Yeah.
Letting go, it allows us to see the interconnectedness of things and live more intuitively.
This deep dive has given us so much to ponder and apply to our lives.
It has.
And as we move forward, let's remember that letting go is not a one-time event, but a continuous journey
Yeah.
of self-discovery and transformation.
Be patient with yourself.
Hmm.
Trust the process and enjoy the ride. Until next time, happy letting go.
Thanks for joining us.